Hey, what's up YouTube? We're back with another video. Today we're going to be discussing secondary weapons and how they feel on Cyberstan versus the Cyborgs. Been trying them out a lot today and wanted to give my take on just the general ranking and how they feel. Get into it. First, we're going to be talking about the Warrant. This is your auto tracking medium pen secondary. Feels okay. You know, I don't particularly love the tracking element of it. I don't really need it per se. It is useful on bugs occasionally when you're like dealing with a hunter that's like dodging back and forth. It can be particularly useful, or like a stealth, you know, stalker, but I haven't really noticed it really being useful other than when I did use it. The radicals, you know, they can be ridiculously fast, and you know, aiming for them can be pretty nice. You know, if you curve the bullet a little bit upwards, you can potentially get some headshots pretty reliably, but a lot of shots were hitting bodies and it was pretty bullet spongy at a lot of times. So not particularly my favorite. I'm gonna put it somewhere in C tier. Obviously, if you're someone maybe on controller or having trouble aiming, maybe bump it up a spot or two, but I think it's pretty fair. All right, next going into Peacemaker. I'm sure my editor will put in some of the clips of me using it. I was disappointed. If I didn't hit headshots, man, this thing felt like an absolute pea shooter. And it doesn't have like the nice like medium pen, or it doesn't have the tracking of the Warrant. I just did not love it. The tried and true machine pistol SMG of the game in our secondary slot. We really haven't used it since the beginning of the game. It's felt so power crept over time. At least it is an absolute bullet hose. So if you need to like just melt a berserker like running at you, okay, you could use that. Put it in single shot. It can feel like a pretty decent pistol, but it's just does not feel great at all. It is borderline D tier. The only reason I won't is just because of the sheer fire rate, and the damage per second it can push out is decent. You know, it can probably save you in some situations with like a radical, or you know, for an agitator or something like that, but I don't know, not my favorite. Next we go to the Verdicts. Just an all-around great feeling pistol. Hit your headshots, it smacks. Go for body shots, it drops them relatively quickly. You know, obviously with a lot of the pistols we're going to be talking about here, headshots are supreme. They will feel a lot better, especially against those new cyborgs. But being able to reliably one-tap the smaller bots is really nice, and just being able to deal with devastators without having to hit weak points and being able to hit like leg shots and do lots of damage, it's just really nice. You know, in an emergency, the medium pen can be nice for taking out something like a gunship or something like that. So, you know, there is that value as well. Next, we have the Senator. Maintains that S tier ranking, just so good for dealing with, you know, medium pen enemies, just because you have the extra damage because you're overpenning, but also being able to deal with, you know, hulks right in the eye, and just in general feeling good. Remember, if you're using it and like, you know, in combat, mag dump it, then you get the speed loader, it'll feel a lot better. But yeah, continues to be just an all-around great pistol for cyborgs. One taps things in the head, so if you're going for like those accurate shots, it feels good. But I'm gonna keep it mostly in S tier because of the Hulk killing, and especially now that we see Hulk Surge showing up and Armor Surge and stuff like that, the utility is going to be higher. But you know, if you're not killing Hulks with this thing, you're probably going to rate it around A or B tier. But yeah, we'll talk about there. All right, next we're going to talk about all the melee weapons. I'm still not going to really recommend them. If there was an F tier for fun, you know, it would be there. Melee exchanging with bots just isn't going to be your go-to. I cannot recommend it. There's some amount of like, okay, well, at least you could use like maybe the stun baton, or you know, using the stun lance to be able to like stun lock a, you know, Hulk, and then your teammate has some like amount of synergy, or like an enemy runs up on you like the radicals and being able to stun them. I can see that. You know, I'm gonna bump it up to like C-, but I can't give it much more than that. It's just because bots are on average more accurate, especially when it's very hectic, because they changed that. Hit trading is just not something you want to be doing. You don't want to be trying to melee something that is possibly going to hit you harder than you hit them. And then on top of that, like, you're just going to be taking a lot of gunfire while you're trying to like be meleeing things. The utility of stunning is going to be decent, but I will not recommend anything more than just like probably like stunning, and that's it. Like it's not something I would really recommend. Next, going into the Stim pistol. Still the Stim pistol. Not much has changed. I still wish that this would get like auto tracking, you know, similar to a bunch of other games that have Stim pistols. Being able to just use it more reliably as like a shoot in your teammates' general direction, just go back. Like they literally have the Warrant sitting right here. If they just turn the Stim pistol into the Warrant and it only tracked Helldivers, perfection. Obviously you can't stim yourself. I get it for balance reasons. It is nice to have though, you know, running it and just being a medic for your team. It's great. Remember the synergy with medic armor. If you wear medic armor, you do benefit your teammates. It will heal for longer, which is nice. All right, next we go the Bushwhacker. I want to love it more, and for a CC tool, it is good, but the range factor on it is obviously going to be a big concern for me. You know, being able to not like really touch targets outside of like maybe 20 meters or just plink them, not my favorite. Was particularly useful for dealing with radicals or like berserkers that like run up on you, just to give you that space to be able to knock them back, like get off me. And because you have 3 shots that do a very respectable amount of damage, you know, you can drop them and feel pretty good. But light pen, limited range, you know, limited magazine, you know, I could see the argument for like A-, but I think a B+ rating is like more accurate to how it feels across the entire, you know, arsenal of automatons running at you. Not always going to feel the best. Next, we're going to be talking about the Talon. I freaking love this thing. It is your space cowboy gun, but unlimited ammo. You lose the heavy pen of the Senator, but you gain not needing to reload and unlimited ammo. I love this thing for just like those moments where like you're, you know, emptying out your primary weapon and you just have like 2 or 3 like more small bots. Just pull it out, bang, 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 back to what you were doing. Just the not needing to reload and just like, oh man, a radical's pulling up on me. Pull out the sidearm, one tap him in the head, go back to what you're doing. So freaking satisfying. Dealing with gunships still effectively, being able to just have a sidearm that you can feel good about is awesome. Dealing with the vents is gonna be a little bit of a problem versus like something like the Verdict or something like that. Just because, I mean the vents on the Vox engine, by the way. Just because you can't get that many shots before it overheats. That's where something like, you know, the shotgun or like the Verdict or something like that. I mean, Bushwhacker or the Verdict will just perform better in those situations for just like pure burst fire. But it's not to say that like the Talon's like terrible for taking out vents. You just got to be careful. You could easily overheat it if you're not letting it cool down even just a little bit. So it might. Crisper, I really wanted to love it on bots. You know, I running around trying to take out Hulks and radicals and stuff like that. But like I've said for other like melee weapons, it will feel somewhat like a melee weapon at times, just in the sense of you have to get very close to your targets and you will be taking the occasional splash of fire onto yourself just because of how flinch works. You might flinch and shoot the ground for a second, or you might splash on the enemy and it like sets you on fire again. It can be a bit awkward to use at times, and you will be hit shooting. They're going to be shooting a blaster at you and you're going to be, you know, right in their face. I'm going to put it B+, A-. The pen 4 ability and just fire damage in general, just being high, is great, but you know, once again, limited range and the utility can only bring it so far. You know, obviously flanking a tank and being able to take it out very easily with this is cool. There's no factory starters for you to really take out with the crispers, so you know, can't really do that much with it. And then the Vox engine is like, it's not something you want to flame. It's not going to work out for you because he can take his cannons and look straight down at you and laugh in laser damage, explosive damage. So not my favorite, and I definitely would prefer it more on regular automatons, but a Cyborgs, not the worst, but you know, it definitely is teetering between A and B for me personally. Next we have Grenade Pistol, still an amazing utility, fantastic for fabricators and so on and so forth. Good for bot drops. A lot of people don't use the Grenade Pistol for bot drops. Highly recommend. When those bots are dropping onto the ground, they have this giant red light. Look for it, send a Grenade Pistol shot on them. If it doesn't kill a lot of them, it's doing stupid amounts of damage just because, you know, they're all clumped up. It did not get the extra heavy pen that the grenade launcher got, so just a heads up if anyone's like, oh my god, it's got heavy pen, why aren't you talking about that? It doesn't. We tested it. So yeah, just really good for utility, taking out turrets from behind, taking out tanks from behind, being able to just do AoE damage, and just utility of fabricators is just awesome. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on the Vox engine as well. As you guys know from my previous videos, it needs to be a grenade, not a grenade launcher. So solid. hard to say anything negative really about it. All right, next we go to the cutting edge laser, the Dagger. I can't really speak too ill on it. You can light targets on fire relatively quickly. It doesn't overheat that fast on Cyberstan, which is nice, and it cools down very fast. So for the most part, as long as you're not just holding it down the fire button for super long, it's good. You know, it will feel like a bit of a pea shooter, but that's just laser weapons in general. Utilize the fire to your advantage. Light an enemy on fire, concentrate on the next enemy. For small bots, shoot them until they go on fire and then stop shooting them. You can actually save yourself a solid second of fire time, and it's more efficient that way. Yeah, cutting edge, felt pretty good. Nothing insane, but pretty good. All right. For the star of the show, the Ultimatum. I probably should have an S+ rating for the Ultimatum, but you know, we're just gonna keep it there at the top of the tier list. This thing is disgusting. Obviously, you lose out on like just, you know, general mobbing, but assuming you have an assault rifle that you just like a Trident or something like that, you won't really miss it. And you bring your Ultimatum for dealing with Vox engines, you know, trying to hit the main head or like between like the crotch area is what I tell people, because the crotch area is really good for like splashing the tank tracks and the head at the same time, you know, hitting as many hit zones as possible, do maximum damage. This thing does so much damage. You're looking at like 33% of the health of a Fox, you know, per shot. With 2 shots, he's basically in 1-shot range for like the vast majority of things you could possibly throw at him. A strafing run, a orbital precision, a recoil shot, 1C4, you know, the list goes on. Like he's essentially 1 shot with 2 shots from this, you know, or, you know, my favorite combo, like we've talked about in previous ones, Leveler plus Ultimatum. Just such a fast kill, man. It's so good. And you don't even technically have to hit the Vox when you shoot the Ultimatum, because the Leveler brings him down so low that, you know, obviously he's pretty much dead. If you can, try to hit a vent. You do bonus damage on the Vox. The explosive damage isn't really doing it, but the impact damage of the Ultimatum can break a vent, and then you're doing bonus damage from breaking the vent and all the extra damage on top of that. So highly recommend if you have not already. It's just so good. Even for like, hey, a Fracture Strider showed up, or not Fracture Strider, sorry, a War Strider showed up, 1-tapped them. Bunch of Hulks, 1-tap them. Bunch of Hulks drop from a dropship, 1-tap them. It's just so good. Loyalist, it's continuing to be the gun that I just feel like is really awkward. You know, it has a lot of sway. I wish it was more accurate. The damage feels good. The magazine feels small. The sway is bad. I think that's like my rundown of it. I'm going to put a B-. I do think it's like got the attributes of a good weapon, but it's not quite there yet. Like the damage, especially if you're willing to charge up every shot, it feels nice. You're not 1-tapping radicals, but what I found was if I did a charge shot and then one quick like a normal shot, especially if it was near his head, it would kill them, you know, which is a pretty cool combo. You're not quite 1-tapping them, but you're getting close. And because of the explosive damage, you can deal with Devastators relatively easily. And just in general, it has fairly good range versus like a gunship and stuff like that. But it feels a bit awkward to use just because of how small the magazine is. And there's a lot of sway. I noticed it the most on the Loyalist. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe it's just because you're sitting there charge shotting. I just noticed a lot of sway, and it did not feel great. While you're sitting there charge shotting, it's like bouncing around on you. You're like, oh my god, you get seasick. Next we have the SOCOM, you know, Halo silenced pistol. This one's going to go into A-. I felt like the damage was pretty respectable. The silenced nature of it is very effective for taking out small bots in facilities to try and stop them from activating bot drops, like we've talked about in our primary weapon tier list. Silencers are incredibly useful for reducing the amount of bots that, you know, look for you after taking shots. You know, so when you're going through a base and you're taking out a bunch of small bots, you know, you're less likely to just activate that bot drop, because when that bot drop happens, all hell breaks loose, and it can be very hard to clean up that bot drop after it is started. We all know that feeling on tier 10 where you're just looking up and it's that William Dafoe meme, and it's like, yeah, shit just got real. So trying to avoid that as much as possible, very useful. Okay, last but not least, our newest entry is the Re-Educator. If you guys don't know, this is a pistol that shoots like a dart that is actually Pen 4 that basically just like puts gas debuff on them. Not for a crazy long time, but long enough to be, you know, fairly useful. For Hulk Surge, this could be a weapon that you might like. Not for everybody. It's not really doing a ton of damage, and it's not like something that's going to take things immediately. Quick little tip for it though. I got this from Jojo, the lead QA dev. It's actually like arguably the most silent weapon in the game. Like it is incredibly silent, like to the game, not just like for our audio, but for like enemies. They will not hear this being shot at their teammate next to them and stuff like that. So if you're looking for another avenue of stealth, the Re-Educator is very good for that. I find the utility basically is all about dealing with Hulks. You can shoot the front faceplate because it is Pen 4, and they are basically stunned, sort of, for a couple seconds. It can sometimes lead you to be able to flank around them and be able to shoot, you know, the radiators. So if you're using something like the Trident, you can quickly burst it down. Cool. You know, for radicals running at you extremely fast, you can essentially stun them and, you know, deal with them more easily. I usually say, you know, it's just better to, you know, stop them in their tracks and just outright, you know, take them out. But I do have somewhat of a soft spot for the Re-Educator for those like moments where like a Hulk is running at you and you just need a breather. And because it has like a fairly big magazine, you can do multiple Hulks at the same time. Don't be like me and have this weird muscle memory where you want to reload it after one shot every single time. I had to break that. It was really weird. I don't know what game I've played where like I had a similar weapon. I just constantly want to reload it. Remember, it has a fairly good magazine. So yeah, I'm gonna put it like middle A, just for pure utility. The killing potential is not that high, but it's not super low because like gas damage is respectable on a lot of enemies. But yeah, I think the utility makes it worth it. Definitely would recommend, you know, once again, the Ultimatum. It will make your life a lot easier on bot missions. It will. The Vox engines hate you when you take this thing. Just be careful not to get flinched as you shot it. And if you're trying to shoot it further, remember, primary weapon, when you swap to your secondary weapon, hold down your fire weapon, because as it's pulling out, you fire it as soon as possible. And for some reason, I believe it's the momentum of you pulling out the weapon is being added to the weapon, to the like the actual round of the Ultimatum, and your shot will go about 2 times farther. For the most part, just aim at the target you want. It basically just does like a parabolic, like, you know, trajectory right to wherever you're aiming. At extreme distances, you're obviously gonna have to like aim higher and stuff like that, but like around 50 meters or less, like you can mostly just like aim at the target and it will go right at it. It's really nice. You'll have to practice it, but highly recommend that tech for using the Ultimatum at those like more awkward distances where you can't just like have it out and like aim up. Also, when you do that tech, you're more likely to not be flinched, which is nice because you technically are firing immediately in that moment and you're not like trying to aim it and stuff like that. So you're not like going to be likely to be in as long of a stagger animation, right, while you're trying to line it up. So there's that. But anyways, nice short and sweet secondary tier list. Let me know what you guys think down below. Obviously, we are live every day over on the Twitch channel and on YouTube at Maplewood_TV. Remember, this, you're watching me on my video channel, and then I have a streaming channel on YouTube and also obviously on Twitch. Consider joining the Discord down below. We got some merch as well. And yeah, consider leaving a like on the video if you enjoyed, and a sub as well. I think we are touching on possibly 12K subs, which is awesome. Thank you to everybody that is new out there. Have a great morning, evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Peace out, YouTube.